So here's the deal for women. But again, I want you to hear, if this webinar was for men, I would indict a man as much about their irresponsibility as we're now taking women to task for their lack of responsibility for cultivating and nurturing force. Now, isn't that a funny thing to say it that way? The word nurture and force. That is a strange sentence. But if you don't nurture your kind of self-expression that you could hear I have cultivated and nurtured, so that when I speak from this place of force, it most of the time it doesn't take life, it breathes life, because that's what it's for. Everything you as a human being have access to is to breathe life. When you say the word inspire, just look, some of the greatest self-expressions from men and women, that speaking has force in it. Martin Luther King, that I have a dream is a speaking of force, but he mastered that self-expression, so it includes the feminine listening. So it speaks to that feminine listening, so women can bridge it. His mastery allowed women to hear force in a way that nurtured them. You see, not robbed them of life and invalidated them, but that's a human being, in this case a man, who could get responsible for the self-expression, bringing life, inspiring. So when people say they're inspired by Martin Luther King, what's the word inspire? See, inspire is the opposite of expire. At some point, each of us will expire. In other words, we're dead. We're literally going to take our last breath. We literally will expire. Literally expire our last breath and we're dead. Inspires to breathe life into something. You see, that kind of self-expression, that kind of mastery allows him to breathe life from mastering force. You see, and for me, man, if women can get that, you see, if women can get that, it's what's always been wanted, for you to master force so you could breathe life into men. Are you crazy to make force wrong? That's always been your key to access the listening of a man. How do you master that kind of self-expression so you can get heard by the world? You don't master that, your dreams will die. Your dreams will die in the limited, irresponsible self-expression of just femininity. Can you get that? Not like the truth, but like a real possibility.
Yeah, I get that. And I would love, just for all of you on the webinar to share in the WhatsApp, in the chat as well. I get that when you talk about force and power, right? You mean like a positive force. Because courageous conversation is masculine, right? It's like being really like out there taking action. And I get what you're saying, us taking responsibility for really mastering it so we can breathe life, right? And bring ourselves fully to what's being called for us to do. And
yeah.
I also got you got touched. So what touched you as you were sharing it?
Well, I got touched by the real possibility of women waking up to mastering force, and really the compassion required. You see, in this conversation, you start to get the possibility of real compassion for oneself and for men. And men are equally trapped in force. See, men are trapped in that.
Yeah.
You know, you could really, when you start to get who we really are as whole, we really are whole. There is no difference between you and I. We just have a different agreement we agreed to. I got moved by the real possibility of humanity having enough compassion for that other part of me and for what's that I have not been responsible for nurturing. That if people got responsible for that, rather than making wrong, see in the agreement we make wrong the other. I make for women, you know, the anger and the force and the grandstanding and the look at me and you know that kind of I want credit and the kind of you know that kind of self-expression which is arrogant and trust me everybody, I know what I'm doing, and you know that kind of inauthentic masculine self-expression, you know, it's made wrong. See, women look and they're like, oh, that arrogant, boastful, forceful, la 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 la. You know, no, man, that was a little boy. That was a little boy that got drawn into the agreement. You know, it's like, how dare you make a little boy who's who who's had no shot, but to wind up that inauthentic way? How dare you make him wrong? That's just a little boy in a suit that does not know any longer how to access tenderness or vulnerability or love as a kind of a self-expression. How dare you make that wrong so you can justify you not being responsible for mastering force? Well, look what force does. Look what force does, Vic. I don't want to be like that. I don't want to do that. That's just all a lie. It's so I stay comfortable and don't have to master the kind of courage it takes to bring that forceful self-expression into my relationship with a man or another woman because it's not comfortable for me. So rather than going after that, I'm going to make that masculine self-expression wrong to justify my lack of responsibility. You see? And then men will do the same. You know, but again, we're not talking about men. Men will make tenderness wrong and then. So